When most people start recording in the home studio, the first question they ask is, what gear do I need to record with? Now, while that's a good question, it's not necessarily the best question. The question I like to ask is, what experience do you need to record good songs in the home studio? So in this video, I'm going to let you know why I think experience is more important than gear. Let's go. Hi, my name is Pete and this is Studio Live Today, where I help you create, record and release your best music. Now, if you're new around here, I've got a bunch of tutorials and tips as well as gear reviews on the channel here. So if you haven't already subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button and joining in the fun. But today we're talking about gear versus experience. Now, it's a pretty interesting topic because, as I mentioned, a lot of people get very caught up in what gear you're using to record, and it is important. I'm not going to sit here and be a super hypocrite and say, hey, it doesn't matter what you use. I like nice gear. Most people like nice gear. And I do a bunch of reviews here about gear. In fact, if you go to studiolivetoday.com/gear, you'll see all the gear that I use. But what is important and what is missed by some people sometimes is the importance of experience. So yes, having really good recording gear might give you an edge over someone that's just using their iPhone's built-in mic, but will it give you a big enough edge to write better songs? Well, I would argue that experience is one of the most important and underrated things about writing, recording, and releasing music. So what do I mean by this? Well, let's jump in and chat about it now. Before we jump into what will probably end up being a rant here about experience and gear, I want some audience participation. I want to know from you, what ratio do you think experience, so recording experience, versus the actual gear you're using? So is it 50-50? Is it 80-20 in relationship to the experience and the gear? Or is it the other way around? Is it mostly the gear with a bit of experience? I would love you to chime in the comments and let me know what you think the ratio between experience and gear is. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about between experience and gear, that's what I'm going to jump into now. So when I talk about experience, it's a bit of the old Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours thing, that if you want to be really good at something, you've got to commit a lot of time to it. So when I look at recording, I look at the recording I did early on when I'd done maybe 100 hours worth of total recording. It was pretty ordinary. Like, I was getting some good sounds, but not a lot. As I progressed and probably did 1,000 hours worth of recording, then it was starting to get better. And the reason it was getting better is that I was finishing songs, I was getting them out there, I was sharing them with people that I trust, and they were giving me feedback, both positive in what I'm doing well and what I need to keep doing with my recording, my mixing, my mastering processes, but also what I wasn't doing well, what I needed to improve upon. So that's probably point number one, is that when you get experience, as you are getting your experience up in recording, one of the important things to do is to not just do it in isolation, but to share your music so that you can start getting feedback, because that is what will help improve your process. Experience is also experimentation. So it's not about learning a process and then following that cookie cutter process again and again. There's the old Einstein quote, and I'll butcher it to pieces here, but it's that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So think about that with your music recording as well. If you are doing the same thing and you're not 100% happy with what you're churning out, switch things up. If you play guitar, grab a keyboard. If you've never played one before, just play around with it. Or if like I do, you use GarageBand, or if you don't, got some videos here you can check out. But grab GarageBand or grab your phone or grab a different piece of software and experiment and play with that, just to give yourself something different, because experience isn't just repeatedly doing the same thing over and over again. Maybe your piano teacher told you to do your C and D and E scales over and over again, and for those mechanical type things, that can be it. But for a creative endeavor, it is not about repetition of the exact same thing. It is about learning different ways and a way that's going to work for you to get your best music. One of the cool byproducts of experience is the body of work that you will create if you are actually following this sort of mantra. So if you were just, working on songs and you're just working up, you're like, one day when I get good enough, I will release my first song. Now, I used to think the same way too. I don't anymore. And if you're still in that mindset, then what I want to encourage you to do is say, what I'm going to put out now is the best thing that I can put out right now. And then when I get the feedback about that, that is when I'm going to level up my performance. performance and level up my experience and get better music out. So I wasn't improving because I was in my bubble. I was just doing my own thing over here instead of going, hey, I'm going to be a bit brave. I'm going to get my music out there, get the feedback back and go, oh yeah, you're right. I do mix my vocals too loud. Oh yeah, you're right. I do bury my guitars in the mix because it was probably played badly and out of tune. So maybe I should practice my guitar a bit more. Those sort of things are going to really help you, and they're going to start leveling up the ability that you have in your recording, in your playing, in your songwriting, and you're going to get ideas for your next song. All right, let's switch gears over to gear and start talking about the difference here. So the challenge that I see that a lot of folks face is that they will start recording and then they'll think that they're going to get better recordings or that they're going to get better songs if they have better gear. And this could be your digital audio workstation. So a lot of folks I know use GarageBand and they'll say, Pete, I need to go to Logic. I need to buy Pro Tools. I need to lift my game when it comes to my software because GarageBand's just not cutting it. And my question to them is, what does GarageBand not do that you want to be able to do? Now, that's a bit of a confronting question, but a lot of folks will then say, oh, well, I just thought that I need something better. I need more options. So I would flip that around and say the reason to upgrade and to spend that hard-earned cash on something better is if what you are currently using is not delivering what you want it to. So if you're using GarageBand and you're like, I really want a master track, I really want buses to send and receive my effects, I really want to use these plugins that aren't compatible, then absolutely, that is an absolutely relevant point. Or my workflow really suits using FL Studio, so I'm going to use that instead of what I'm using right now. Absolutely, those are both very valid reasons. You know what? A valid reason is also, I like cool new things. I'm going to try something cool and new, as I said at the start. So they're all valid. The one that I would question the validity of is to say, I want to get better results, so I'm going to use something better before you've actually done the experience and earned the right, I guess, or earned the ability to step up to that better software. Otherwise, what you tend to find is, and I've seen this with myself, with other people, the actual quality may go down. So you may have not got to the level where you are absolutely, you're perfected, you're an expert in the DAW you're using, so you move to a new one and then you can just hit the ground running. If you haven't really explored that and you don't have those thousands of hours of experience of recording already, then maybe you're actually going to go down. And that's what I don't want to see folks do, is to spend money on the DAW. And we can flip this over to other gear. So if you're talking about an audio interface or a microphone, I mean, I still use this. I used to use a $60, $70 microphone for almost everything I do because it gets the results that I want. And as soon as I go, might be soon, as soon as I go, look, I want a better quality mic, then maybe I need to invest in a $200, $300, $400 microphone. But what I didn't do is, 3 years ago, when I was sort of first getting back into home recording, I didn't go, I need to buy the latest and greatest. I mean, I did with a couple of things and it didn't work out so good. And maybe we'll talk about that another day. But what I did is I got myself, at the time, a Steinberg UR12. I got myself a $70 microphone here. And then I just started recording and I got quite good at recording. And now I use GarageBand. I use Reaper on my PC a little bit. I use my mixer over here a little bit. I've got some fairly entry-level gear. But what I'm doing is I'm getting really experienced at using this gear. I'm getting really familiar, which is leveling up the experience that I have and leveling up the quality of the recordings that I'm getting. So that is what I would say is the way to think about this, is to say, if you have hit a wall, so if you said, I've got a 2-channel interface and I want to record 4 things at once, well, yeah, you need a 4-channel interface. Or if you're saying, my recordings are sounding too tinny, I need to get a nice, beautiful quality microphone because I really want to capture this amazing sound, absolutely go for it. But don't let the gear get too far ahead of the experience, because it's not going to be the answer, and all that's going to happen is that you're going to end up out of pocket. Now, as predicted, this did turn into a bit of a rant, but I want to hear from you now. Put your comments down below. Let me know what ratio you think experience and gear plays in getting a good quality recording. I'm genuinely interested. Any other comments, drop down there as well. You can subscribe to the channel up there as well. I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.